Gents, switching gears now, focusing on the big game in the Premier League this weekend. Tottenham Hotspur against Manchester United this Saturday, 12:30 Eastern Time on NBC. I'll be there for Pro Soccer Talk in North London in the stadium. Really looking forward to that one. As two Big Six teams collide, but both want to kind of take the next step in their evolution this season. I think it's fair to say, right? They're there. They're ready to move on to where they think they belong. So, Nick, can they do it? Are they ready?
Well, I'm not sure. I'm going to use a kitchen analogy here, one that'll ring true certainly in this room. Both of these teams, I feel like there's a very good chance they have fixed the oven. If they want to make a meal, all right, they have fixed the oven. And so now the ingredients can be put together. And it's interesting for me because watching that Manchester United game, obviously it struggled against Wolves. But I was thinking to myself, wow, I'm now judging Erik ten Hag for who he put into the game instead of the formation. That's what happens in year two. Whereas when I'm watching Tottenham, I'm saying, wow, this team looks like it's committed. It looks like it has ideas about what it wanted to do. It wasn't the cleanest thing, but I felt like I was judging Ange on the same metric that I judged Erik ten Hag last year. And in that way, I think Tottenham's on the right path. I don't know. I don't know that the Premier League is at a path where you can fix a team, especially after selling Harry Kane in 1 year and surge back into the top six discussion. Or maybe, sorry, not the top six discussion, but an easy spot in the top six. But I feel very good about Tottenham. I also still feel very good about Man United. It just felt, correct me if I'm wrong, a little bit like they kind of forced Mason Mount into a position because they paid so much for him that he had to start the game because they looked a lot better with Eriksen in there. But I think both of these teams can take the next step. But it is interesting. I don't know if you guys agree that my mind changed with how I judge the Man United project this year.
Yeah, I think watching that first 90 minutes of the season, right, Andy, it gave me a lot more question marks about Manchester United. And for Tottenham, I actually feel a little bit better about their prospects, given that they have just lost Harry Kane. It was obviously a very tumultuous last few weeks, but how good they looked going forward. And then you think about the fact of how many new defenders they have, and they were all playing, at a Brentford team that are direct and cause problems for anybody, and that they'll probably improve and gel as a unit as the season goes on. So, yeah, I guess kind of heading in slightly different directions when we talk about United and Spurs right now. But what are your feelings as our resident Tottenham fan heading into this weekend's game?
Hopeful, I think. I don't know.
Okay.
It was promising and it was exciting and it was what we were promised, I think, when Ange was hired, because obviously he wasn't the first choice. I don't even think he was the second or maybe even the third choice this summer. But they ended up with him, and it feels like a little bit like we talked about with Messi and MLS, kind of right person, right time, because Spurs don't just need somebody that's going to come in and give them a good tactical system and teach them how to play and win games. They need somebody who's going to kind of bring the club back together, bring the fans back on side with the club and the players and the management staff and the people higher up in the club, if you will, as well. And I think he's the right guy for that. It was very clear, to Nick's point, they were committed. They were playing for him. They were enjoying the way that they were playing. Now, there's some pieces still that very much do not fit the way that Ange wants to play. And I think I would say every defender at the club, aside from Christian Romero, well, I guess Mickey Van de Ven and Romero are going to make a nice partnership. I think they fit quite well for the system. But the fullbacks are still an issue. There's a big hole in midfield for anybody that can move the ball forward. Because if it's not Kulusevski and it's not Son, they're not progressing the ball. And so that's still a bit of an issue. But it was refreshing, I think, to see them going forward and attacking, because that's the way that Tottenham is supposed to play. That's why a lot of Tottenham fans, because people ask me this, why would you be a Spurs fan? A lot of it comes down to the way that they have traditionally played and been an enjoyable club to watch. And so from that perspective, they're getting their identity back. And that is step one, I think, for Tottenham, to talking about becoming in contention for 6th and 5th and 4th progressively during Ange's reign.
Yeah, James Maddison I thought was excellent on his debut for Tottenham, and then being named vice captain already as a new player at the club shows what kind of role he is going to be having under Ange Postecoglou. And just little things, right? Making the players go over to the fans at the end of the game to applaud them, doing a huddle in front of the fans before the game, just kind of he seems to get it and understand what is needed at Tottenham right now. So he seems like the perfect man in there. And don't forget, Bentancur's coming back in midfield, Andy. So I think that's your ball progressor there that can link midfield and attack a little bit better for Spurs. But United, though, midfield was the key issue. You brought it up earlier, Nick. I guess Eriksen is going to come in maybe for this game and provide a little bit more solidity than Mason Mount. But it's a bit of a head scratcher to kind of figure out what United are going to do. I mean, they've been linked with a move for Amrabat potentially.
Right. That's what they need to do before Sunday or Saturday.
Yeah, right. I mean, they need someone to kind of be alongside Casemiro. Fred's left. Obviously, Scott McTominay is still in the building. Don't know for how much longer, but it does feel like they're in balance there. And the amount of times that Wolves caught them on the counter-attack, they were extremely lucky to beat Wolves, especially given Andre Onana's rush of blood to the head late on, where he nearly took off the head of one of the Wolves players. But he did play well aside from that. I have to admit, the new goalkeeper. But, what I'm trying to get at is United, the balance, is it personnel or is it tactics or is it a bit of both?
Well, I'm going to go with a bit of both just because I didn't really like some of the choices from last week. And I've been impressed by pretty much everybody along their back line. I think Erik ten Hag is working some magic too. Wan-Bissaka's looked pretty good. Obviously, he's preferred Delo. Luke Shaw, for me, it took me a while to be won over. I know, Joe, with you and your Saints background, it was probably a little easier, but he really does look the part now. And I think I changed my opinion on him when he moved into central positions late last season. But Varane and Casemiro are such a good fit. And what kills me is watching these teams learn a little too late in the transfer window, Tottenham and Manchester United, how badly and how vital the middle of the pitch is. Caicedo, we watched an elite Liverpool team fall off the map because they took too long to address their center of the pitch. And I think Amrabat, or a player of his ilk, really is it. In fact, they might have been able to use Fred the other day. Really could have been a fit. They needed something there. And how are we continually getting to the middle of August with teams leaving one of the most important positions unaddressed? Because if you have Varane and Casemiro up the middle, you should be fine. And they weren't because of the pieces around him.
It's very true. I am a big fan of Shawberto Carlos as well, by the way. So he has been great for United over the last few seasons. So fair play to him. Prediction-wise, I think I'm going to go for I think I might go for a Tottenham winning this one, 2-1. I think it sets up quite nicely for them in terms of United, the chances they'll give up on the counter. And yeah, I mean, quick score prediction from you two. Andy, what are you going with?
Yeah, 2-1, I think, to Spurs. Right. A lot of chances because Spurs are not going to defend. That's very clear, at least early on. And so, yeah, United will look, I think, a little bit more put together in this one. But yeah, I think Spurs win it late.
Nick, you agree?
I'm going to go for 2-2 and a big game for Richarlison, if only because it seems like whenever he gets ripped on, and he got ripped on by the Tottenham media this week for not being Harry Kane, he always seems to step up, and I think he's going to have a decent game this week.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. For even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock and be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend on USA Network and on Peacock. We will see you over there.